The Ableton Push is known for offering a seamless connection between hardware and software. If you love to produce music in a DAW like me, but at the same time like to work with pads, buttons and knobs, you'll for sure have come across the Push at least once before. In a few words, this device allows you to play Ableton like as if it's an instrument. You can control most of the Ableton options, track options, plugin settings, play instruments and drums directly from the device, and much more. Since the Push 3 was released recently, which is essentially a Push 2 on steroids, is it still worth getting a Push 2 in 2023? Will it still allow you to produce music quickly and creatively? Let's talk about it. Working in a DAW is fantastic for its unlimited options. Just with the stock plugins and settings, the direction you can go in with your track are limitless. Add an internet connection and third-party plugins, and you really have endless possibilities. We all know how overwhelming a DAW can be, and this can sometimes cause us to freeze our creativity. My favorite aspect of the Push 2 is that it kind of limits Ableton's options. If you work in it without looking at the computer screen, you kind of have a natural tendency to keep things more basic and simple, similar to working in a sampler. This more down-to-earth workflow often leads to more creativity. Since you have less options available to you instantly, you tend to dive deep into the things you do add, and you can just focus on making good music. For me, this is great for starting a new beat, hashing out ideas, and getting to the arrangement point. Then I'll go back into my Mac to fully arrange the beat and add any extra details to finish it off. Now let's talk about the pads. The 64 pads can seem a little bit daunting at first, but it really doesn't take long to learn what's going on, and before you know it, you'll be able to play chords, chord progressions, scales, and melodies easily. Having this playability integrated into the Push 2 gives you an all-in-one package, so you don't have a need to purchase an extra keyboard. These pads can be used in many different ways. For example, they can act as 3 octaves of notes for any melodic instrument. They can display any MIDI sequence in your project for you to alter or visualize. They can be used to select, play, or delete clips from Ableton Session View, and there are various options to use them with the drum rack for finger drumming or programming. Since it's not your standard keyboard layout, I tend to find that when I use the 64 pads, I come up with different chords, different melodies, and approach harmony in a very different way than usual. I also love using the classic MPC 16 levels layout to record 90s hip-hop style horn samples. Let's look at the screen. Although we are trying to detach from our monitors, the Push 2 screen is extremely useful, incredibly detailed, and very satisfying to look at. All the Ableton stock plugins can be fully visualized from the screen, and many third-party plugins integrate very well too. The screen makes the process very visual, but not too much to the point where you're working with your eyes rather than your ears. I, for example, love diving deep into the Ableton simpler options on the Push 2. Adjusting all the parameters with knobs and buttons feels much more artistic. Now, I feel like the build of the Push 2 doesn't get talked about enough. If you haven't held one before, it may seem plasticky, flimsy, and thin, but this thing is absolutely solid. Aluminium chassis, incredibly compact, just a fully dense solid. This is great because its own weight stops it from sliding around your desk. I am an aggressive pad hitter, and in 4 years of slapping this thing really hard, I've never had any functionality problems. The buttons all come with satisfying clicks, and enough resistance not to be pressing anything by accident. They're all covered with soft rubber to give them a nice, comfortable texture. The only thing that I would mention is that on mine, the knobs do come off quite easily, and in fact, you can see that one of them slid right off. I was hoovering some dust from it, and the hoover just ate the knob. Now, one drawback is, of course, the Ableton Push 2 is not completely standalone. Although you can switch your monitor and work just from the Push 2, you do still need both a power cord connection and a USB connection to your computer. So any dreams you may have of taking this thing to the park or to the sofa and making beats on the fly may be more complex than you might think. If you absolutely require that standalone option, maybe the Push 3 is more for you, or maybe check out the MPC Live. Now, for me, the biggest drawback of the Push 2 is that it doesn't integrate so well with Arrangement View in Ableton. I use Arrangement View 99% of the time, so this forces me to finish all my beats off on my Mac. Push 2 is optimized for Session View, but you can't arrange a song. I've never actually had the chance to try the Push 3, but I wonder if they added more Arrangement View options. If you know that, maybe you can leave a comment down below. So generally, with all the music production devices that have come out since the Push 2 first released, is it still relevant in 2023? Absolutely. The Push 2 is an outstanding device which serves Ableton perfectly. Now that the Push 3 has come out, you can find very good options in the second-hand market for the Push 2. It inspires creativity, gets you out of the box when you need to, but back in the box when things get too overwhelming. I would recommend this device to any producer working in Ableton without a doubt, as it allowed me to discover myself and my sound. So I hope you could take something away from this video. Let me know if you work in the Push 2, what your favorite features are. Let's just have a discussion down below. For now, keep making those beats and I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.